Social and political commentary from a Christian male perspective.
Woo! Grace and peace, everybody. We are back. We're back up in the building tonight. We are going to take a second and look at an interview that Cassaundra Hopson-Jordan did with her running mate, Dinesh Harrison, on Intellectual Radio's podcast. It's really interesting. So I want to just take a second and peel this back because I think we might have missed this. There's a lot of stuff that Cassandra says in here and doesn't say in here that I think we need to take a second to evaluate. So let me bring it in real quick and we're going to jump into it. Let's go.
Have someone that we've been trying to get back on the show for a while. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you the lady that is running for Mayor of Dolton, Illinois, Cassaundra Hopson-Jordan. Welcome to the show.
It's good to be back. It's been a minute, but it's good to be back.
Good to have you back. I know we've been very, very busy getting the word out about what's going on in Dolton.
Yes.
For those of you who have tuned into the show before, as you know, I'm running for trustee. Cassaundra Hopson-Jordan is running for mayor. We are on the Rebuilding Dolton ticket. We are the Rebuilding Dolton campaign, and we're going to talk less about me today and try to catch up with you about all the things that have been going on. So again, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So for those who don't know much about you or didn't tune into the show or is not following the news that's going on in Dolton or Thornton Township, tell the people a little bit about you, where you're from, where you grew up at, and we'll get started right there.
Okay, this is her chance. This is Cassandra's opportunity to introduce herself to the watching world, introduce herself to the Dolton residents, and make her case for why they should choose her to be their next mayor. All right, let's go.
Okay, well, as some know, or shall I say, let me introduce myself to those who don't know. I'm Cassaundra Hopson-Jordan. I am running for Mayor of Dolton. I was born and raised on the west side of Chicago. Was there through my teenage years, and instantly after high school, I joined the military.
Shut up.
Left and did my tour. I was actually during the time of the Desert Storm. So I actually served in that time frame. And from there, got a chance to travel the world, see a lot of things, meet a lot of new people, just do a whole lot of interesting stuff. And it was a good period in time in my life. And then when I came back here to Chicago, kind of settled my roots, got tired of traveling, wanted to focus in on school, family, kids, the whole 9 yards. And here I am today.
So you being a person who knows about military service.
Yes.
I know for myself, I've served as well. For those of you who don't know, I've served as well. So thank you for your service. You came back here, you put roots down, as you said, and you decided to live in Dolton. So with that, two things: why Dolton, and why have you made the choice to jump into politics? I know there's so much other things that you could be doing, yes. So many other things that you are doing, actually. Why decide to get into local politics in your community?
Okay. Well, what brought me to Dolton is how I actually came to Dolton. My husband purchased the house. And at the time when he purchased the house for his mom, because she had became ill, and it was a little too much going back and forth, taking her to the doctors and trying to work and things of that nature. So we purchased the house so we could be there with her, taking care of her full time. But unfortunately, her health took a turn for the worse, and we end up having to put her in a nursing home. She had to be under 24-hour care, per doctor's orders. So we end up keeping the house. Now, if you would have asked me, Dolton would have not been my first choice, but just being there and getting to know the neighbors, things of that nature, the village kind of started to grow on me. So I end up rehabbing the house, flipping, fixing it up, flipping, or whatever you want to call it. And we end up keeping the house. And like I said, getting to know the neighbors, getting to learn the community. I'm like, it's actually a pretty good community. So I end up staying, and here I am today in politics, something that I thought I would never be in. But what drove me to this is looking at all the different mayors that have taken the seats and looking at the community as a whole. And over the years, just seeing how the community have started to diminish, I'd said to myself years ago, that I actually thought about running for mayor. Now, why the Lord would have me to do it in this time and season when it is the worst situation I've ever seen in life, but sometimes God would have you.
Okay, so before we enter, God has entered the chat. I disagree with politicians and how they use God. I'm sorry. I just don't agree with how they use it. So that's beside the point, though. That's beside the point. I don't think that Cassaundra Hopson has actually sat down and thought about what it is that she wants to say, because that train of thought from where she was born and raised, her service in the military, husband buying the house, and mother-in-law getting sick and then being put in hospice. That's a very weird chain of thought. And it doesn't actually, and then she just pops up, and now I'm in politics. How did you make the jump from rehabbing the house and wanting to stay here to being in politics? That doesn't make sense, but she's going to continue to muddy the water. So let's let her go.
To step into a position where it seems impossible, to show and prove that he can do the possible. So this is how I became about, as far as wanting to run for mayor. I just want to see a change in this community. You know, when me and my husband, we would go out and we would bike ride, and just going through the downtown area, in certain areas, you see where it's like a desert. And it's like, man, this could be such a great community. But we need leaders that, 1, can work together, 2, stop fighting all the time, and 3, and just get the business done and try to build this community back up. So this is one of the reasons why I truly jumped into this, because we just need a change in leadership.
How long have you been in the community?
I've been in this community, it'll be 17 years. I've been here for 17 years. And the 17 years I've been here, it has looked the same. I have not seen any growth. If anything, I've seen it just go, just spiral downwards. And I'm like, somebody has to jump in here and start to make a change for this village. Because if it don't happen, we will slowly but surely start to look like Harvey. Like, no pun intended to Harvey, but as I drive through certain communities and I'm like, what are these mayors doing? Like, what are these people sitting in position? What are they actually doing?
Okay. Being able to see a problem and give a solution to a problem, and being able to work that solution into a workable plan, I think are multiple different scenarios. Everybody can see it. Everybody walks through the ghetto and they can see it. Everybody has an idea. When you walk outside your community, you see trash out there, or somebody's thrown a bag of trash out, whatever like that. You can see it. And then I can maybe come up with a plan, like, let's go pick it up. But maybe like a long-term plan is maybe there needs to be a community garbage can right here, because there's a lot of runners and people walk by, and it's just easy for them to chuck it rather than actually do anything with it. But if we put a garbage can, that might solve the problem. So there's a lot of different things here. And I don't think Cassandra's actually giving us, and you'll see in a moment, she doesn't have a plan. She's just belly aching. She's just complaining. She's just acknowledging that there is a problem. And sure, I've talked to people in Dolton, and they've agreed that there's a lot of abandoned buildings. There's a lot of need here, so on and so forth. But that's one thing. But being able to come up with a plan is a light year different thing. And being able to have an executable plan is a whole nother game. Let's go.
Side of collecting a paycheck. So we just need new leadership. And I'm willing to just throw my head in this race to help bring businesses back into this community. I mean, I've been in business, been self-employed for 25 years now. And I think I've done a pretty good job in staying afloat and being able to create businesses in this area.
I know for myself, I'm having.
Wait, hold on. Wait. If you've been creating businesses in this area, then you should have a base that you can refer to. Like, hey, I own this auto detail place. I own this lawn care place. I own this seamstress shop. You should be able to point that out. Do you have that to point out? Because I don't know. I heard you say you're a caterer or a chef. Where's your evidence? Because you just said that you have a track record of building businesses. Where is it?
I've been in Dolton as long as you have, or many people I know. I'm going on over 2 years now. And for myself, again, coming from a background of service, my attitude about coming to Dolton was about the same. The village, as you said, the village grows on you. You know, it's different from the South Austin area that I grew up in when I was in Chicago. And for myself, I was always taught, you know, always be a part of the community that you live in. And if you see a situation or an issue, you know, be a part of that solution and leave a place better than you found it. And I know for myself, I tried to volunteer initially when I came to the village, and, you know, the phone calls didn't come back. You know, I was trying to find out where I needed to be, what I needed to do. And then finally, I know the two of us was at a meeting, and we ended up meeting, and we talked about running on each other's ticket, which is how we ended up, well, me running on your ticket, which is how we ended up meeting each other. And so I believe from day one that you really wanted to do this, and you're doing this now for the people. So you've been in the village for 17 years. You're a woman of service. You're a woman of faith, businesswoman, and me and you know, but for the people who don't know, what do you say to the people who are constantly talking about how you are not qualified?
Okay, here we go. So now we're going to get into her qualifications. He's asking her, what do you say to the people that say you are not qualified? So remember, the question is, you are not qualified. So you should be giving us your qualifications. Let's see how she does.
Because they've said the same to the both of us. You know, what qualifies you to be able to do this and that in the village of Dolton? We haven't heard from you. We haven't seen you and all this other stuff. They expect you to be a part of the mess, the smoke, the noise. What do you say to those people?
I don't think that's true.
Well, first, as far as being qualified, if I can serve my country during this desert storm, if I can protect you while you sleep at night, then running a village is small chips compared to what we have been through and seen in this world. And if you have never been in those situations, you would never know or never understand.
So because I've been a former classroom teacher, I should be able to be a CEO. Because I'm a former classroom teacher, I should be the head coach of the Atlanta Hawks. Because I've been a classroom teacher. And I taught your little rugrats, and I taught kids that are now doctors and lawyers. I taught students who've done some great things. So because of that, I should be a CEO. Okay. Logic.
And as far as the drama and all this crazy,
notice she doesn't give any qualifications. I just want to make that point. Now she's going into the salacial, the I don't think anybody really truly relishes in the drama of Dolton and Thornton Townships, respectfully. I don't think anybody's like, oh, I just want everybody to be involved in the drama. No, there's a lot of people there that just want normal life. Go back and read how the people responded to the most recent Dolton board meeting. And people said, yo, this is exactly what we've been wanting. They don't want the drama. They don't want the smoke, as they said. No. So she doesn't give her qualifications. She just says, hey, I served in the military. Shut up. I was in Operation Desert Storm. Don't ask me no more questions. Now let's talk about these juicy bits. Let's talk about this, the salacial part. Watch this.
Stuff is concerned, I choose not to participate in it. To me, it's foolishness. It's crazy. And I just didn't realize how politics could just bring the ugliness out in people. I've seen some stuff like, Jesus, like, is it that serious? Because at the end of the day, we have to just put all this foolishness aside, and we have to build this community up. When I go into other communities and see how things are ran and see how they are prospering, I'm thinking, why can't we have that? But we as a people, we have to learn how to come together, put our differences to the side, and focus in on the community. Because, you know, it's sad when we see other races, and I'm gonna go there, and they look at us and they look at us as if like we're not a threat to them. Because first thing comes out of their mouth and their first forms of thinking is they can't work together. They can't get along. They can't get anything accomplished because they're too busy fighting one another. And when I just look at this situation, I'm like, at this point, everybody just needs to go. The village needs a fresh start. It needs new personnel, new people, new trustees, new mayor, new everything. It's just, and I believe that these seats should be held only for so many terms. To see people sit in these seats year after year after year and literally produce nothing. It's like the laws need to be changed. Listen, after 2 or 4 years, you've served, that's the max.
2 or 4 years.
Shift it out.
She does realize that the man asked her, what are her qualifications? She said, I served in the military. Let me tell you how terrible the rest of these other people are. And now she's just kind of stream of consciousness. She is now talking about term limits, how people have gotten nothing done, how people are involved in mess, and we need to work together because of other communities. That's not the question that man asked you. Just making a little observation, Cash Out. Let's go.
Because if you keep the same leadership in all the time, and this is the thing that gets me with people. You say, I want new leadership. We need somebody new. But you constantly recycle the same people over and over again and keep expecting a different result, which is crazy to me. So I think at this point, everybody just needs to go. I'm just so sick of the fighting. I'm so sick of the name calling. I'm so sick of the backbiting. I'm sick of folks digging up people's personal stuff and using it as a weapon. It's just crazy. I mean, everywhere you go, the minute you mention Dolton, everybody has this preconceived notion of how things are. And this one notion that I really hate that people have about the people in the village of Dolton, that everybody is poor, broke, disgusted, on welfare, on Section 8. And that's not so. So I have to constantly clear up that narrative that this is not a poor, broke, disgusted village. You know, you have a lot of professionals that lives in the village. It's just unfortunate that the leadership that you have is not doing what they're supposed to do. I mean, how hard is it to get in office and just do what you're supposed to do? Everybody work together as a team. Everybody come together as a team. I mean, how hard is that to do?
What? Okay, so I just got to stop right there. It's kind of funny that we all have seen Crash Out Cassie say contradictory things. She said that all these people are poor, broke, and disgusted, that they're one paycheck away from being homeless and living in their cars. She's called them intellectually deficient. She said a lot of bad things about people in Dolton, but here she's saying something different. I don't know. Maybe she needs to check her notes.
Why do you think that is? Because for me, from what I see, and again, I haven't been in the village for a long time, but it just seems that people are on their personal agendas about how they want people to perceive them doing the job, but the job's not getting done.
Well, I think personally, it's greed. It's money. It's about the position. It's about the power. And this is why it needs to be shifted out every so many years. I mean, don't let them get that comfortable to the point where they get comfortable with those paychecks. I think it's really all about the pay. These people have been sitting in position. They've been living off the taxpayer dollars. I mean, when I look at these meetings, I'm like, where can you go and not show up for work and still have a job? Where they do that at? Because in my world, you miss work. And after so many days of missing work, not only do you not get paid, but you're letting get fired as well. So I don't understand how, and it's on both sides, these trustees, even sometimes the mayor, you know, this side gets mad at this side and that side get mad at that side. Nobody shows up for work. Nobody's suffering but the people in the village. So I'm trying to figure out and understand, where do you do that at?
Let's talk a little bit more about the people. I know when we've gone door to door many times.
Yes.
What was the main theme that you were hearing about the people who we've met concerning what they want to see in the village?
Right. And let me make this clear, because I've heard some say, we haven't seen you guys out. Well, let me clear this up, because for those that don't know, when we started out with this election, the first thing I wanted to do as far as phase one of our campaign, every person, and let me make this clear, because some are saying, well, they didn't come on my block or we didn't see them. Well, let me make this clear. For every person that supported us and signed our petition, then in turn, I personally wanted to thank every person that signed our petition to help us get on the ballot. And we went through every block on Dolton. When I sat down and went through that petition, it was like 862 people that actually signed our petition. And when I sat down and went through every address and I separated it block by block, I put the numbers in order, and we went out and we literally knocked on over 500 doors. And outside of those doors that we knocked on, my husband said, listen, I know you've been out there, and I just end up mailing out the rest of them. So plenty of, it's about 400 people, or a little close to 400 that got them in the mail, and knocking on the doors, talking to people. And I listened to the interview the other night with the mayor on WBON, and one of the callers caught my attention. She called in and she said, listen, I am one of those middle-class working people. So what about us? And this is the thing that I stress to you in the midst of going out speaking to people, because I've spoke to a lot of people in the village. I know, Trustee House, Mayor Hinier, they like to focus in on the seniors. They like to focus in on the kids. Well, my thought is, who focus in on the middleman? A lot of these people, doors that we knocked on, are middle-class working people that often get left out, that often gets left behind, because everybody's focusing on the seniors and everybody's focusing on the kids. Most of those kids that you're focusing on lives in the households of those middle-class working people that foot the tax bill. And the number one concern that they had is, what about us? And I'm a middle-class working person, so I can identify with them. And a lot of them are like, we often get left behind. Nobody ever speaks to us. We never see anybody come knock on our doors. What about us? And that's where my campaign has been focused on. Let's relieve the load of the middleman, because the middleman is the one that's footing the bill in America. It's not the rich, it's not the poor, it's not the, not the seniors, because majority of the seniors, they're on fixed incomes. The majority of them are retired, and majority of all of them, at least 99% of them, they get tax breaks. Because once you hit a certain age, you get a tax break. So it's the middleman that's footing the majority of the bill. And one of my main focuses is bringing businesses into this village, getting that downtown area filled with businesses. And
okay, but tell us, what is your plan for the middle man? This is your opportunity. She's not fighting with anybody. No callers are called in yet, talking trash or anything of that nature. What is your actual plan for the middleman? I think most of us agree the middleman needs some kind of support. Absolutely. So what is the plan? She's about to now go into, we got to get businesses into the downtown. So she says the middleman, but then she moves past it, because it's not the middleman that's necessarily starting businesses. These are employee type people. So if you want to get them employed, those employee type people, to get better jobs, you need to get businesses in there. So how are you going to do that? So there's two different things that she's talking about.
Other
Watch.
desolate areas that has a lot of empty spaces. Let's get businesses in here so it can relieve the load of the middle class working person. I know how it feels to, when you work, and then you at the end of the pay period, you look at your check and it all goes in taxes. And you don't get to reap the benefits of your hard work. So we have to just stop focusing in on the seniors. Now, I love my seniors. I do. I take, I'm close to all of the ones that live on my block. I constantly check on them. I constantly make sure they have what they need, the whole 9 yards. But we have to also focus in on the middleman. And a lot of the complaints have been from people that works like, what about us? All we hear is seniors. We hear the kids. What about us?
A lot of the people that we did talk to, they expressed concern about their tax dollars. They talked about their tax dollars stand in the community,
right?
Stand in the village, stand in the township. A lot of people who live in Dolton have to travel outside of not only the village,
right,
but in some cases the township, just to see their dollar at work. And so that was one of the things that I remember when we knocked on those doors.
Right.
A lot of the people in the middle class, they want to know, how are their tax dollars going to be working in their village? Can you, without revealing too much, talk a little bit more about what the plan would be to keep the dollar in the village?
Well, one of my things I've been working on, I've been blessed to have a lot of contact with a lot of business owners. And with what I do, a lot of times I'm freelancing as a chef, and I get to work with a lot of major companies. And I've built a good rapport with a lot of these companies. So I've been able to actually sit down with a lot of
Okay, I'm just going to say this real quick. What she's about to say right here and what she said at this moment, I actually don't believe it. I don't believe that this actually happened. I'm going to explain why in a second, but I'm going to explain. I'm just going to put it out there now. What she's saying right here, is cap, as the kids like to say. I don't believe this is true.
Their corporate offices. And I've actually had investors to visit the village, to actually come out, and I've sent them to certain areas to take a look, take inventory. And a lot of them are actually willing to invest to bring businesses into the village. But here's the kicker. I've had them to actually take a look at both of the candidates, take a look at a lot of the people that are attached to them, And one of the things is they're willing to do business with Dolton, but they don't want to be bothered with any of the leadership that's in the seats at this point. You know, I tell a lot of people, you have to be careful about a lot of the stuff that you put out on social media. And one of the things that have turned a lot of these investors off is that this administration, the trustees, they're looking at the whole situation and they're like, they're not an asset, they're a liability. I wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole. You know, when they look at the trustees from their eyes as investors looking at them, they're like, they're not loyal. In a sense, they're like Judas. Like, who turns against a person that actually put you in the seat? But then they take a look at the mayor and say, she don't have good judgment. You brought all these people along with you, and in less than 2 or 3 months in the seat, they shifted on you. And it's a touchy situation. It's just like, we're willing to do business with Dolton, but we're not willing to do business as long as any of these people are actually in the seat.
Right. They don't want to be caught.
They don't want to be caught up in the drama.
I'm sorry. I don't believe that's true. I don't believe any of what she just said right there is true. Now, of course, she could roll out with some receipts and I'll say, I apologize. I think then I was wrong. I'm going to tell you why I don't think she's telling the truth, because it's interesting that the quote unquote investors that came out and looked at Dolton. So she has contact with these people outside of Dolton. She was able to get them to come in and they just looked at Dolton and they looked at some meetings online and made an assessment that Dolton's good, but the leadership is bad. I think you could probably, there's some room there. I think there might be some reality there. Somebody could probably make that assessment, that point. But notice there's no names to this. There's no names. And you know there's no names because these people haven't actually said that they will invest in cash in Cassandra. They're not assessed. They're not looking at it and say, hey, we don't like House. We don't like Henyard. We like Dolton. We want you to lead Dolton. They're not saying that because they're not actually siding with her. Where are these people as investors in your campaign? Crash out. I'll wait. They don't exist. You're making it up. It's made up out of whole cloth. You're just making it up. Because no investor is looking around saying, hey, everything is good here, but the leadership is bad. The taxes are low and everything, but the leadership don't know what they're doing. They're not loyal. They're like Judas. Nobody's saying that. You're saying that, Crash Out. And later on, you're going to hear why I don't believe that they're supporting her campaign either. But let's let her go. Let's go.
Oh, the craziness, some of the stuff that they've looked at, like even with some of Trustee's house. I've had them to watch certain videos. I've had them to watch certain meetings. And the people that's attached to him, bad business. And then we look at the mayor, you know, as far as a leader. And I've always say this, a lot of times you cannot friend or fraternize with people that you have to lead. So when it comes to friendship and cliques and all that, you have to separate that stuff. You have to leave it outside of the workspace. So
these people, these investors looked at board meetings, looked at meetings and said they're fraternizing with one another. Okay. But these same investors watch your crash outs on Facebook and they say that you're a good leader. You're the right kind of leader. You're doing the right thing. When you're cussing out the residents, when you're calling the residents, the voting residents, disparaging names. Crash out. Just want to make sure I understand this correctly and how it plays out. But they're okay with your behavior, but they don't like Tiffany's behavior. Okay. They saw Tiffany and said she's bad. They see your crash outs and say that's acceptable. That's what you want us to believe now. Okay. I just want to make sure we're believing what needs to be believed.
I've had investors to actually check out the village, check out the administration, check out the social media, all of the bloggers. And when they look at this, they're like, listen, we're willing to do business, but we don't want to touch it. It's just too messy. It's unprofessional. They're just a liability. It's just bad business.
Not good for their brand.
No.
Why do you?
Who is saying that? Because Panera's there. Starbucks is there. There's all these companies that are hawkish about their brands. They're still in Dolton. Let y'all tell the story. There's no corporate, no national brands in Dolton. No fledgling regional brands in Dolton. Okay. All right. Guess that's what I'm supposed to believe.
Feel people are willing to accept the obvious. And what I mean by that is they see everything that's going on with the legislative body in the village. You have your faithful few who are either against the mayor or against the trustees. And then you have those that understand that the whole legislative body has to move forward in some type of like direction. So when you win the seat, you still have trustees who are there now that will be there. And so there has to be some type of agreement to work together.
Well, here's the thing. You have all these trustees, new, old, or whoever's coming in, and everybody is saying, I'm for the village. Well, here's the true test of what you've been saying. So in an incident, you get a mayor that you didn't want or didn't select. Then let's see if you can put your differences to the side and actually work with the new mayor.
Or let's see if the new mayor is willing to work with those people that they disagree with. I mean, it's a both and. Both of y'all are going to need to work with each other. There's going to be a give and there's going to be a take. So let's just put it, don't just make it on the trustees. It's going to be on you too, Cassandra. You've already shown and said that you will not work with people that you disagree with. Remember that crash out that you took down? Yeah, you've already said that. So we already know how this is going to play out.
Because it might be someone that you might not like. And this is why we have to learn that when you go to work, it's not about the personal stuff. When I go to work, all personal stuff stays outside the door. My focus is when I come in the door, as I stressed to someone before, when I come through the door, it's about producing. I'm here to produce. I'm not here to have a personal moment or a personal relationship with the people that I work with. Yes, you're supposed to be cordial, you be nice, all of the above. But at the end of the day, you are here to produce. I don't believe in fraternizing with people that I have to lead. Too much familiarity breeds contentment. When you get too friendly and you bring that stuff into the workplace, and a lot of people don't know how to keep it separate. And this is why I believe that the village is in a lot of the situation that it's in. They all start.
She has a big problem with the fact that people like one another. Now, I agree. Now, you shouldn't be just hanging out and causing it. But being able to work together is part of the work environment. Is eventually you all will begin to become comrades. You don't have to. It's not a given that because we're friends or we work together and we're cordial that we're not going to do work or we're not going to do the right thing. That's not. You're making a logic jump that's not there. Now, could it be? Sure, but no. Why are you immediately assuming that because somebody is a friend of someone, they're not going to be doing the job with excellence of execution? Why is that? Is that something that you deal with? Possibly. Is that somewhere that you've fallen short at? I don't know.
Started out as friends and they're all clicked up. And then it's like when one don't do what the other says or one don't go according to whatever it is, now you got a big mess. So if you're going to be a leader, you got to learn how to lead the friendship outside of the workspace and focus in on getting the job done.
Just taking care of the business. Absolutely.
But it's not family. It's a people business. You're not just making widgets. You're not just making floor tiles or at a nursery growing plants. These are humans that you all are responsible and tasked to lead, to guide, and provide for. So you're not just, it's a little bit more than just, we make cups and we're over here making our cups, be quiet, don't smile, don't laugh. You're literally working with humans. This is, let her go, Jason.
That's why you have friends, you have your personal relationships outside of the workspace. I've worked with people that literally couldn't stand each other's guts. But the minute we walked inside those doors, all those personal feelings went outside the door and everybody came together and got the job done.
We talked about phase one of your campaign. Are you still in phase one or have you transitioned to phase two concerning your campaign? And if so, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, we have actually transitioned into phase two. And this is actually getting paraphernalia out to everybody in the village, whether you support us or you support the other candidate, we're still getting paraphernalia out to everybody.
Bloggers.
I'm sorry. Getting paraphernalia out. I'm not a big fan of swag for candidates. I mean, I did buy a Clean House 2025 hoodie. I want to support them, but I'm not really invested in that. I have friends who've run for political office and such of that nature. I'll throw them some money, but I don't want the shirt. I don't need the koozie. I don't want that kind of stuff because I'm just not a big fan of them. That's not campaigning though, ma'am. That's not. Where is your actual platform? What is your actual philosophy? What is your actual belief as it relates to taxes and water rights and paying debts? What is your belief in that? I think it's because, and we've kind of hinted about this, she plans on just giving the Dolton over to the state or asking for the state to intervene. I don't think she actually has a plan. She just wants to get in and give the keys to the state. Now, I don't know how that works, but I can't see. She has no other plan. Listen.
So we've talked extensively about the whole blogging community, and in my short experience, I don't understand why. I don't understand why people just can't focus on what people are truly trying to do for the people in the village.
Because we don't know what you're trying to do. With all due respect, Mr. Harrison, by the way, I think he's probably a really good guy. He comes across as genuine. I got no beef with Mr. Harrison, none whatsoever. Because we don't know what Cassandra wants to do, therein is the rub. We don't know what she wants to do. She's taken no time to explain her platform, no time to explain her philosophy, no time to give her ideology as it relates to the various and sundry things. Sure, she wants the middleman to be taken care of. How? Sure, you want business to come in. How? Investors, what are you going to do it? We need a roadmap. Now, sure, it doesn't have to be fine-tuned, but what is the roadmap? You got like a month left. This was almost 2 months ago. I mean, a month ago. So you had 2 months before the election.
My experience, and you can share yours, my experience is that, the majority of bloggers out there have chopped up, twisted the whole motive or intent of what people are actually out there trying to do just to favor a different individual running for this office. What's been your experience with the whole blogger community?
Well, with that, as everybody know, I did an interview with Jedediah Brown. And I only did the interview. What's to kind of break the ice? Because I had a lot of people saying, well, we don't know you. Nobody's ever heard of you. And I'm like, well, honey, I've been here for 17 years. So I did the interview. And to just see the reaction of the people, just the bully, the meanness, and the nastiness. And I'm like, you guys do know that people can have a difference of opinion, and it's okay. I mean, you can have whoever you want to vote for. You can have whoever you want to vote for, but we all can still treat each other cordial and be nice to one another. And I've just never seen anything like it. I'm like, are these people paying you all? Because some of you all are just a little too stressed out. Now, I did another call-in on the Martin Johnson show. And let me clear this up. When I turned that on, I just happened to come in from my day and just turn the TV on, and it happened to be on. And I'm listening to the callers call in. And I'm listening to all of the House supporters, because these people feel like if you don't go along with them, then you're an outcast or you're a Tiffany supporter. And, all the bullying. And I've never seen people that say, we want to see the village go right, but you all are so nasty and mean and just, it's unbelievable. So it was a lady that called in, and this was one of the reasons why I called in. I can't stand a bully, and I can't stand a disrespectful kid. And when the lady called in,
it's funny that she uses the exact same terms that Tiffany used. Later on, she's going to talk about kick the can. Now she's talking about I can't stand a bully. Those are exact verbatim phrases that Tiffany Henry used. But here's my thing that I just don't, this is why she's not going to win. She hasn't demonstrated that she's above the fray. She's above the hoi polloi. Like, okay, fine. People talking trash. Let me go ahead and keep my platform. Let me show them my platform and see if they still talking trash. No, she down here name calling, muck throwing, just like everybody else is. So you're actually not showing anything different. And as I said before, if Tiffany Henry would have did it, don't do it. It's a simple solution. If Tiff would have did it, don't do it. What would Tiffany have done? I'm gonna do something different. Let's go.
She was saying they had asked her, who was you for, or something of that nature. And her response was, I'm not for Tiffany, nor am I for House. And It's like, when she said that, they start coming at this woman like mad crazy, to the point where she was like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend anybody. And I'm like, no, you're entitled to have your opinion. You're entitled to have your views. But they act like if you're not team house, you darn nearly got to put some fighting gear on and be ready to fight. Because these people act like, I just never seen nothing like it. It's like, come on, people, relax.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that. You've had your experiences with people on both sides. What's one of the most challenging things that you've experienced with groups of people who are, and again, we already talked about it. We'll talk about it a little bit more. Where'd you come from? Who do you think you are? Why are you feeling like you're qualified? I mean, and before you answer that, when we entered into this,
right,
we both had a conversation about it being about the people.
Right.
We both had a conversation, not knowing, you didn't know I was in the Marine Corps. I didn't know you was in the Navy.
Exactly.
We talked about our service to community.
Right.
We talked about going all around the world, doing service for other countries,
right,
other people in other countries. And now we're home here trying to serve our community. We're more than qualified.
Exactly.
Absolutely more than qualified. If you didn't see us passing out, food during Thanksgiving, that doesn't mean we're not qualified to do the business of the village. So
I'm not trying to be foul, but being in the Navy, being in the Marine Corps, again, thank you for your service. How does that guarantee that you're able to do this job? That's what we don't understand. But and it's not really on Mr. Harrison. I'm not going to lie. It's really on Crash Out Cassie to explain how the transference of the skills that you had in the Navy, however long you're in the Navy, is transferable here in Dolton. That would change the whole game. But you're spending all your time defending against bloggers and people on bulletin boards, and you're not taking the time to dig into what it is that you actually bring of value to the discussion. Let's keep going. Let's go.
So with that understanding, when people started to attack you, not even knowing where you stood, calling you a Tiffany plant, calling you against everything that the trustees stood for, but not bringing up any topics or subjects about what they're doing or stood for. How do you continue to move forward and avoid that noise, avoid that smoke, and move forward with your agenda for the people?
Well, one thing, in life, you don't get to where you're at by worrying about what people say or what people think. If I sat around and worried about what they thought or how they feel, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So that stuff I've learned. Let me say this.
Have you?
I've learned that every lie, every negative comment is all a part of the process. The devil never comes after an empty cup. He only comes out after that which is full. So when you're full of purpose, when you're full of promise, when you're full of destiny, then here comes the naysayer, the enemy.
I'm sorry. Okay.
You can't chase down every lie. One thing my daughter said to me, she said, Mom, listen, you never have to defend the truth. So let the liar lie, let the naysayer say what they got to say, because they're like boosters. If you ever seen a rocket take off, the boosters have to drop out first. So I don't worry about all the craziness and the naysayers and all the negative posts in the Dolton politics and all that crazy stuff.
There you go.
When I look at it, as I said to the young lady, listen, if you're going to post about me, if you're going to lie about me, just tell the people to come on over and follow me. You're free advertisement. So every time you call my name, every time you say something negative, every time the blogger say something stupid, whatever the case is, you're free advertisement. You're advertisement that I don't have to pay for. And
well, I really wish she would think about what she said right there. Your free advertisement, yeah, that's true. But ma'am, you still have to offer a product, a service that people will latch onto. Just somebody saying, hey, Dear World Christian is talking about Crash Out Cassie. Let me go over and see what Crash Out Cassie talking about. She crashed out. She's not talking about policies. Oh, she's not talking about her actual vision for Dolton. Oh, she's just crashing out. Okay, this is just entertainment. This is just Doritos and Takis and hot Cheetos. That's all this is. This is not a real substantive meal that's gonna fill me and allow me to be healthy and strong. Nah, this is here for crash out. That's all that is. So, ma'am, please understand, all advertisement is good, I guess, to a degree. All people like to say all attention is good attention, but you have to maintain their attention. It's still on you. Just because I go over there one time and look at your channel and say, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and keep on moving. I'm enjoying somewhere else. Just like if you had a restaurant. I mean, come on now. That's not really rocket science.
Actually putting my name in households that would have never been there. So you have a purpose. Serve your purpose. Do it well.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Do what
that
you do.
That don't even make sense what she said. Sorry.
I appreciate it.
Right. Staying focused on the why. I know for myself to stay focused on the why, which is the people. This is why I decided to do what I'm doing on this ticket. Let's talk a little bit more about the agenda for Dolton. We've touched on it, and we touch on it all the time when we talk. We touched on it here in the show. You talked about the downtown area that you and your husband rode through. What would be an example of the type of vision that you would want to see for the village of Dolton?
Well, as far as the downtown area, when I rode through with my husband and also with investors, and we talked about making that the small business community. You know, I've spoken with quite a few business owners that actually help small businesses get into brick and mortar. And so I actually got a meeting set up with a lot of small business owners that's looking for brick and mortar. And guess what? We have a lot of empty spaces for them to be able to bring those businesses in and help them actually open up. And with this business owner, she does a lot of grants, get a lot of grants for small businesses. And so this is actually one of a excellent collaboration. But the major companies that I've spoken with, and I won't give their name because I don't want people hunting them down and researching them and all this old foolishness, you know, because we don't want to.
Because I don't think they actually exist. I don't believe they actually exist. But I digress. I'm not going to argue with that. But a lot of this sounds very, very vague. And again, you don't need to be specific, but you could give some very specific generalities that would really bolster your point. I'm going to still stay right where I live. I don't think this has actually happened, but let's let her go, Jason. Let's go.
Mess stuff up. But
they're barely on board right now as it is.
Yeah, they're barely on board. And thank God that they know me. They know my personality. They've worked with me. They know my character. They know my work ethics, and they're willing to take a chance. And
so they see your crash outs on Facebook. They see your complete meltdowns, and they say they want to support Dolton, but they didn't want to support Tiffany? Okay.
If all goes well, this would be like a good start for Dolton, and it would actually bring 300 jobs into the village. And one of my deal breakers was that if we can get this business into Dolton, that they had to hire so many residents so we can recycle the dollar back into the village. That's one of the conditions of them actually being able to set up camp in Dolton, is that they have to hire people from the village. And that's one of the things that I've talked with quite a few men in the village. I've talked to quite a few people in as far as the Hispanics in the community. I've talked with Africans in the community. I've talked with whites in the community. I've talked with Italians. And a lot of these people, like, I like living here, and it would be nice to have jobs in the community, whereas I could work and then have to travel so far out. So that's one of the things that I've discussed with these companies. You have to hire residents. And yeah, so they're willing to do that. And we're actually still sitting at the table discussing some things. I actually got some meetings coming up, and yeah.
Okay. Maybe, you know what? Maybe that is 100% true. Maybe that really did happen. Maybe. But I think you can probably see how convenient this story is. Like, oh, if we got to hire Crash Out Cassie, even though she cusses us out on Facebook, because we're going to get 300 jobs into the community. But remember, you got to work with the trustees that you don't want to work with already. And how are they going to say, yeah, we're going to work with this idea that you've come up with? Who knows what the business is? Let's say it's a lawnmower blade company, right? Manufacturer. They're going to make lawnmower blades and such of that nature. And they make good lawnmower blades. So it's a legitimate company. Why would they want to work with you if you've already said that you don't want to work with them? So the company has said, yeah, we'll go along with you, even though you need the approval of the trustees that we already said are low down, dirty, rotten. Okay. Okay. I guess this happened.
When I see people in the community, the first thing they want to talk about, actually people outside of the community more than in the community,
Right.
because as you said earlier, a lot of people are paying attention to Dolton for the negative reasons.
Yeah,
Now,
for clickbait and for
Right.
views and for likes and to grow their social media pages and stuff like that. And I'm
Right.
like, you guys,
right, for the wrong reasons.
all for the wrong.
That phrase, y'all have heard that phrase before. Clickbait, views, the likes, grow the social media. We've heard that before. We've heard that phrase before. Just wonder where we heard it before. Okay.
Reasons. If you're gonna report news, let's report some positive stuff sometimes.
And that's my point. The facts is what I encourage people to go to inside the community, outside the community. They often are attracted to all the noise and the smoke. And my words for them is, you know what? Do your research.
Right.
Understand why you feel the way you feel about the incumbent,
Right.
the people that are running, getting to know us. Do your research. That's what I tell the people. So when it comes to the people, how do you, because you've had more conversations than I have
Right.
about the smoke in Dolton. So what do you leave with the people concerning what they need to do to be informed?
Well, as far as the people on the outside or inside?
Both.
Well, as far as the people on the outside, when I'm approached with all the stuff that's going on, and they, first thing is, well, she stole all this, and I'm like, listen, people, you have to stop saying people stole stuff and people did this and people did that. Because honestly, all this stuff is just speculation and hearsay. You got to understand a person is always innocent until proven guilty.
I think that's adorable that she just said that, considering the fact that she has disparaged Jason House with no evidence, none whatsoever. There's actually more evidence that Tiffany stole or that Tiffany mishandled money than there is about Jason, as Crash Out Cassie has said. But Crash Out Cassie is willing to give Tiffany Henyard a lot of room, lots of grace. She doesn't give that to Jason. And I'm just wondering, why is that? It just seems very interesting to me.
So I get it. You say you got the feds and all this stuff investigating, but in the meantime, until
they
people actually
are,
get them
though.
handcuffs put on them and they actually get charged with a crime, you have to stop saying, stop this narrative that people stole this, people stole that. Because honestly, I haven't seen any proof. You haven't seen any proof.
Neither have they.
And a lot of people, we just going off of speculation and what.
Okay, if that's true, which is fine, then you give that same amount of grace to the trustees. You got to give that same amount of grace, because again, there's more evidence that Tiffany was dirty than there is evidence that that the trustees were. And I'm not saying the trustees are perfect. I know they're human. All I'm asking is, where's that same level of grace for the trustees? Because you're giving a lot of grace to Tiffany when I think that's justifiable to call her, say that she stole and whatnot. But you don't have the same thing for Jason and the trustees. Just interesting.
Just saying, and you got to understand and realize, and I know some will get mad.
They've been big time.
But this is information that the trustees have put out as far as all of the thievery, the theft and all this. And when I look at this Lori Lightfoot report, see, when I look at stuff like that, I want to see names next to who did what, when they did it, why they did it, what time they did it. So if you're not showing me that, then you're just showing a report of money that's just being spent. You haven't actually put a name next to it. So I tell people, just stay away from all that. Stop slandering people's names. Stop throwing people, name in the mud, and just stop with the foolishness and wait till the actual facts come out.
But you're not doing that, Crash Out. You don't do that. You don't do what you're actually saying. Right now in 4K, you're not doing that. You're quick to throw Jason House and the team under the bus. You're quick to do that. I'm just finding it
Everybody has a speculation, but no one has actual facts. Nobody has actually seen documents. We just haven't seen it.
Well, the last time you said that, and the last time I said that, people got very, very angry.
Well, we Tiffany plants, so they're working for Tiffany, and it's so crazy because a lot of the people that's saying the crazy stuff. First of all, you never met me. You didn't even know who I was until I actually decided to run for mayor. You didn't even know my name. So, I've heard one crazy person say, I saw in the video, I saw her and Tiffany walking. And I'm like, you know what? Get a life. I've never met the young lady a day in my life.
But remember what they said about me at the township. I wasn't there when they said that somebody said that I was hollering at.
Yeah, they say, "Oh, we saw him in the caucus. He was yelling at Ed Steve," and I'm like, "The man was at work. He wasn't even there.
Nowhere
Near the building." So people
Right.
just make up stuff to to make themselves feel good. So I've gotten to the point when people ask me crazy stuff, I say, you know what? Whatever they said is true. I'm gonna give it to them. If it's gonna make them sleep better at night, if it's gonna make them feel good about themselves. So whatever it is they said I did, I'm like, you know what? As the Bible said, agree with your adversary quickly. So if you say I did it, then I'm guilty. I did it. So if it's gonna make you sleep better at night, if it's gonna make you feel good about yourself, have at it. I'll give you that one. I'm gonna help you sleep good at night.
That's not what the scripture teaches. Just in case you were wondering, y'all, that's not what the scripture teaches. So, because that's basically lying. If I'm lying on you and you agree with the lie, that means you're lying. So it's not actually good. So, but I digress because I don't think Crash Out actually cares about reality. Let's go.
Well, those type of people they're not really interested in the truth.
No.
Anyway, they're interested in continuing to kick up the dust, make sure that they got good clickbait,
Right.
instead of actually sitting down and doing the research. And I would encourage each and every one of you, if you feel like you need to do the research and you're in the process of doing the research and people are berating you because you're not picking a side out of anger or picking a side because that's just a normal thing to do, don't be discouraged.
Right.
Continue to be encouraged and do your research, whether it's for Cassaundra Hopson-Jordan or the other two that are running. Do your research first before you make the decision. I would like to encourage you, make sure on February 25th and April 1st,
Right.
that your voice is heard. And so tell the people a little bit about the differences between the primary in February and the general in April.
Well, for those, because I've had one guy, oh my God, he was so nasty and so rude. He was, just, I don't like you. And I'm like, sir, you never even met me, but I'll let you have it. If it's going to make you sleep better at night, that's fine. But I am not splitting a vote. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. So I'm independent. So in the primary election, you'll have Trustee House, you'll have Mayor Henier. They'll run off against each other. And whoever wins that race, they got to come see me April the 1st. As I said, and I stated in front of everybody, you want the seat, you're going to have to fight for it. Will be no longer that we're just putting politicians back in these seats because they feel like they deserve the seats. I've never seen politicians with this disposition like, this is my seat, this is my town. No, at the end of the day, you work for us. So before I decide to just give you a seat again, I'm going to make you fight for it. So if you want it, come fight for it.
It's the people's seat.
Exactly.
It's the people's office. And it's interesting because you'll see the same group of people on one hand hoop and holler and yell about the people's office, the people's seat. Mm-hmm. But as soon as somebody wants to voice their opinion that's contrary to how they feel or how they believe, everybody wants to pile on them about their choices.
Yeah, they attack like vultures. It's like.
But Cassandra, do you allow people to disagree with you? Do you have dialogue with those people? Or do you run out of the board meeting and go jump on Facebook and crash out? I'm just asking questions. Sorry.
We want to, I saw one young lady post, she said, it's imperative that we change the narrative. And it's like, no, you don't get to change the narrative. You get to respect other people's opinion. And this is where we all have to grow up and understand. It's okay for you to have a difference of opinion, her to have a difference of opinion, me to have a difference of opinion. It's okay. We can't say freedom of speech, but then you want to control the narrative or you want people to think the way you want them to think. And that's not how it works. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion. Everybody is entitled to support who they want to support. It does not take anything away from you. And I tell people, notice, we have a lot of people that support us, whether you all want to believe it or not. But do you see any of our supporters acting the way a lot of these other candidates supporters?
Do we see any of your supporters, full stop, period, end of sentence? No, question mark, actually, end of sentence. Do we see any of your supporters? No, we don't. Where are your supporters? Where are the pro Cassandra bloggers? Where are the pro Cassandra content creators? Where? I'll wait. So all of this hoopla about, because one of the things that really trips her up is the fact that she does not like that she's not able. It's funny that she talks about controlling the narrative. She doesn't like that there's Facebook pages and bulletin boards that are not under her purview, and she can't control how people perceive her. She doesn't like being perceived negatively, good or bad. She doesn't like that. Even when she says, "Oh, if that makes you sleep better at night," that right there is a slight, because she's ultimately upset about the fact that she cannot control the discussion. So those Facebook pages and such like that live rent free in her life, rent free in her head. And you hear her talk about them several times. If you go back and listen to this video, you'll hear her referencing the Facebook page or wherever else like that. She's getting all this from there. She's not getting it from interaction with other humans. She's actually reading it. But let's let her finish. Let's go.
Well, remember when we first started, what did they say about us when we first started about how we wouldn't be?
Yeah, I've heard, oh, they're not going to make it. You know, they're just doing something. And then now that we have made it and we got past, you know, the challenge and everything, now a lot of folks feel like we're obligated to give you an interview or you know, we owe you something. We don't owe you anything. All you have to do is go to the polls and vote. You know, and as I said before, I'm not begging people for votes. I'm not promising people anything for vote. I'm going to run this campaign clean, precise, do what it is I need to do. I have a vision for the village. And one of my main concerns is bringing businesses into this village. I don't care what type of deficit you got. I don't care what type of plan you have. It's just like running your household. If you got money leaving out and no money coming in, you're going to find yourself in a problem. So we have to get money into the village. We got to get businesses into this village. I don't care about any of that other stuff. You got to get businesses into this village so it can help relieve the tax load off of the residents.
That's absolutely a wonderful plan. And you mentioned the challenge. We didn't get into that, but I would like to get some details about that whole situation that we went through when we were challenged about the ballot.
Well, you know, I'm just—
it's a part of the process.
Yeah, you know, and I wasn't mad about it. It's a part of the process. You know, we got challenged and, you know, God worked it out. It's fortunate for us when we came in. You know, they decided to drop the challenge. And as I pulled the young man DeMarcus to the side and we had a conversation and, you know, I heard one young lady say, well, you called him unattractive. You called him this. And he knows everything that I've said. And see, this is where maturity come in. We all can have our little spats. We can have our moments, but then we can also come together and act like adults. So with that being said, when he left the room, when, you know, everybody was cool, everybody was cordial with one another. And we left it, you know, let's have a peaceful race. We don't have to come at each other like vultures and, you know, and fighting and all this rah-rah. We you know, we can be cordial with one another.
For those who don't understand what a challenge means, can you explain?
Explain that.
The challenge process.
Well, as far as that challenge was concerning, they knew as far as the petition that they didn't stand a chance with that. So they had to try to find some other way to try to kick us off the ballot. And as my lawyer said, you know, under the reasons that they were trying to kick us off, you know, the federal courts threw that out back in 2017. So they really didn't even stand a chance with that.
Right. So
I don't think she understands what was that challenge. And I'm going to see if Brother Harrison explains it. But in order to run on a ticket, you have to have a full slate. Well, because they're running as a new party, they don't have a full slate. And the challenge was to get them kicked off the ballot in Dolton because they didn't have a full slate. It was only two members and you need to have 5. So they didn't have that. Therefore, there is the problem. And so there was a challenge to get them kicked off. And of course, because they're a new party, they don't have to fall under that, under the established party's rules because they're a new party. So they don't actually have that. I don't think she understands that, but let's go.
The petitions that we got the people to sign, there's rules to it. You have to make sure that the signatures are done correctly, that you monitor those who sign.
Yeah, they definitely have to be registered voters. They have to make sure that they live in Dolton.
Right. And so those who are running against you or any citizen actually can challenge those petitions. And that's what happened with us. And because our stuff was in order,
right,
they decided to drop the challenge because.
Well, let me say this, as the young man said to me when we stepped off to the side and we had a moment to talk. He said, you guys haven't done anything to us, and it's your right to be able to run for mayor, and we don't have a right to try to stop you. And I said, thank you. And he said, no, with all sincerity, you guys have a right to run, you know, and it would be unfair to us to try to stop you all from running. So, and this is why we're dropping it. You guys haven't done anything to us. And this is what I say to a lot of people, you know, you get a lot of bees with honey. And sometimes people watch how you treat them and watch what you're saying about a person. And I'm just a firm believer, because we haven't jumped on the hate train. they realize that we're not like all the others that has jumped on the hate train and thrown their head in, head in the bucket along with all the others and fighting and all this craziness.
They've asked us to join the hate train many times, haven't they?
Well, I've had, oh my gosh, you'd be surprised the information that has been dropped in my lap. I'm like, politics is a dirty game. I've had so many people reach out to me and wanted to help us with the campaign, but they wanted to run a smear campaign. I've had one guy that came and sat in front of me. He had an envelope full of information on the mayor, on the trustees, and he's just like, we can make sure you get the seat. And I'm like, but that's not what I'm about. I listen. Whatever's going to be for me is going to be for me. I don't have to go through the smear campaign. I don't have to go through digging up a person's past. I don't have to go through any of that because this is not why I am running this race. I'm running this race to help better the village. And I'm going to keep saying that because this is why I'm running. Listen, I don't have a dog in a fight. I don't have a hidden agenda, no motive. I am here to help better this village. It's either you with me or you're not. I don't know what else to say. I mean, if I get in the office, I'm going to give it my best. I'm going to give it 210% of me. Anything that I set out to do, I give it my best. And that's about all I can do is give it my best shot. But I've had so many people to reach out to me with so much information. It is mind-blowing and it's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Did anybody ask you to actually give them a plan, a platform, a methodology, and what is your consideration of these topics? Did they? Because I still have yet to hear this, and we're almost finished with this interview. What is your actual platform? What are you about? What is your consideration about debt or bonds, or how do you deal with, again, well, is there a limit in your mind to a number of liquor stores? What about casinos? What is it that you're about? I don't know. All I know is that you don't want the mess, you don't want the smoke, and you're for the middleman. But what does that mean?
Of the information. And I've even had people to reach out to me to even bribe me, like offer me money to get out of the race. And I'm like, is it really that serious? Mm-hmm. But I guess in politics, the dollar rules everything, but that's not what we're about. We're not about the smear campaign. We're not about enlarging our pockets. We're about building a community.
Absolutely. And making sure that community is ran with integrity.
Yeah.
January 27th. Let's talk about January 27th a little bit. Is it January 27th?
Yeah, it's January the 27th. I honestly, I don't really expect much. I really don't. I don't really see anything different outside of what she reported.
And for the people who don't know about January 27th.
Well, I guess it's supposed to be Lori Lightfoot is bringing the second portion of the reveal or the report or whatever. Mm-hmm. But
so the first, they called it the tax audit, I believe. Right. $3.5 million is what the total was. But again, there were no names with the amount of money being spent. So we understand, there was some back and forth about the administrator. I believe Keith Freeman's his name. However, there's a federal investigation going against Mayor Henyard, some people in her administration. Nobody's been charged.
Right.
Lori Lightfoot came out with a $3.5 million deficit that they need answers to. January 27th is supposed to be phase 2 of that audit, I believe. As far as what to expect from it, we don't know.
Well, I say this. If you're going to bring an audit, bring some names along with it. Other than that, you just wasting our money. Mm. I don't need to pay you $400 an hour just for you to bring me numbers. If you're saying that a person is misappropriating funds, then put names with those statements. This is what the people want to know. And I feel like this is what the people should know. If you're going to have an investigation and you're going to waste the taxpayer dollars and you're going to make us pay for this, I expect more. Because now let me say this, if I've heard often that, Trustee House has a impeccable background in finance, then when you're a trustee, you have to pay somebody $40,000 to figure this out when you're supposed to have a financial background, make it make sense.
Mm-hmm. But I know she's just trying to be other. She doesn't want to side with the team house. She doesn't want to side with Tiffany Henyard. But ma'am, wouldn't that be a conflict of interest if Jason did the audit and came back and said Tiffany Henyard was slimy and dirty? Wouldn't you want a secondary party or third party outside of the immediate two? Wouldn't you want that? Because if Jason came back and said, oh man, Tiffany's as dirty as today is Wednesday, wouldn't you have a problem with that? She crash out. But remember, no platform has been given. No platforms were heard in the making of this video.
We don't need that bill. We didn't need that bill personally. I just think.
Right. So that would be January 27th. So to cover a couple of things. So February 25th is the primary.
Right.
And then whoever wins the primary runs against Cassaundra Hopson-Jordan.
Correct.
April 1st.
Correct.
So please, if you're not registered to vote, make sure that you are registered to vote. How can people help with the Rebuild in Dolton campaign?
The best way to help is to make sure that you're registered to vote and actually just go out and vote. Simple.
Okay.
It's just that simple. You know, when, as I tell people, you don't like Tiffany, go cast your vote. You don't like House, go cast your vote. You don't like me, go cast your vote. It's just that simple.
Are there any volunteer opportunities for the Rebuild in Dolton campaign?
I mean, I'm always open for volunteers, but we pretty much got this in the bag. I mean, if you want to donate, that's fine, but we're at the end at this point.
Okay.
See, this is why I say she doesn't really have a plan, and she doesn't actually intend to win. She has no volunteer opportunities, no door knocking, no sign holding, no nothing, no nothing. Oh no, just whatever, go vote, whatever, just go vote. Like nothing. That's why I don't believe she has any intention of winning. No intention whatsoever of winning this race at all. It's very, very surfacey, and all the stuff that she's doing is just actions, is just motion, whether it be beating the challenge and doing these podcasts. It's just work. It's just busy work to show that she ran for office. That's it. Because again, like there's nothing to do, nothing. You're an independent running against a very popular Democrat. You don't have any work that you need to do. No calls need to be made. No email specialist. Nobody on your website. Nobody, nothing. Just whatever. Hey, if you want to donate, yeah, go ahead. Give me some bucks or two. Go and buy me a coffee. Really? Nothing? Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any information that you would like to give the people about your campaign?
Well, other than if you want change, then you got to just do something. In order to get something that you've never had before, you're going to have to do something that you've never done before.
Right.
But if you want the same old thing, then just keep voting the same old recycled people in. These people have sat in these seats for years. And personally, I have not seen anything that they have produced. If you want those seats, then you guys need to start producing. Now, there's a few things that I have seen Tiffany do. And that was one of the things I took to investors around the community. I saw the beautiful street lights she put up, and I'm like, well, it would have been nice to disperse them out throughout the whole community. So I will give her credit for that one. Those street lights are beautiful. It's just that there's other streets that needed lights on it, know. So if you're gonna do stuff for one block, you got to understand you're doing it for everybody. So it would have just been nice to disperse those lights out throughout the whole community.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last thoughts to leave with the people before you come on next time to continue to speak about Dolton.
Well, my thoughts are, as I say, I'm in this race. I'm not looking for accolades. I'm not looking for anything out of the norm. I jumped in this race because I see a community that is drowning, and I have skills to help bring this community back up. Now, a lot of
What are those skills? You've only told us that you served in the military. I don't know about the success of your business. I don't know how you've dealt with contract negotiations, employee issues, anything. I know no skills that have caused me to want to vote for you as an undocumented Dolton resident. What are your skills?
folks say, what are you going to do? How are you going to pull us out of deficit? Well, as I say, one of my main focuses is to bring businesses into this community.
How?
We have to be able to relieve the stress as far as the taxes off of the residents.
So you're going to swoop tax, you're going to bring businesses in and you're not offering them any kind of tax benefit. They're coming in, paying full taxes, having to hire people from the community, and they're just going to want to do that. Really? Okay. No tax relief for small businesses. No tax relief. No tax credits for businesses. You just want them to come in, and just because the love of the game, because you're such a great person, Cassie Crash Out, they're going to want to pay full tax burden to come to work in Dolton. Okay. Makes perfect sense.
And everybody talks about transparency and all that. Of course, you're going to be transparent. But as far as I'm concerned, I can't really know what's going on until I actually take office and actually sit down and get the books and actually go through the books and look at everything that has been going on in this village for the past 4 years. And that goes with anyone. People say, well, how are you going to fix a problem when you don't? Well, you have to see the books first. You hear all this stuff in these meetings and it's all hearsay, this and that. But until you actually have the books in front of you, in whereas you can see everything that's going on, then you can start to correct what has been wrong and start to make decisions to turn this thing around. But we have to get these people out of office. They have shown that they are not capable of running this village. They can't even come to meetings. They can't even get along long enough for the water to get hot. I mean, it's just been crazy. And it's just time for this village to heal. It's time for all this unnecessary attention to go away. Because let me tell you, people are tired. And like I said, we have been out and about throughout the neighborhoods. We have reached every corner of Dolton, and we have knocked on doors and we have talked to people. And one of the main things is that we're tired. We're sick of all of it. We're not for House, nor are we for Tiffany. Now, I know some people might have, because some of you all might have knocked on your doors and they might have just told you some stuff to appease you, to get you out of their, to get you out of their face or get you away from their door. But a lot of people are just tired. They're saying to us, we're ready for everybody to go. At this point, we just need a whole new administration. And at this point, we do. It's time to just clean the whole house. These people have sat in office, they have collect checks, and they have not produced anything. So it's just time for a new regime. It's time for them to go.
So the time for them to go crowd came out in exponential numbers to vote for Jason House. 3,800 votes to 536 votes? But they're tired of both of them. Okay. It seemed like they're not tired of Jason House. It just seemed like that doesn't bode, the facts don't go well with what your narrative is. And again, this is just a story. She's just telling it. I have no reason to believe that she's lying, but hey, it didn't measure out in the election. Just interesting that these people who are tired, all these people in the four corners of Dolton are so tired of both parties that they came out in droves and in drones to vote for Jason House, but they didn't vote for Tiffany. It seemed like there would have been a depressed. Oh, and by the way, it was a larger than normal turnout of voters. It seemed like they would have been like, look, I don't even care. Whoever, I don't care. It seemed like it would have been like 2 or 3 votes, but there was a record number of votes. Interesting. I don't know how this works, Cassie Crash Out.
Well, I really appreciate the time that you spent talking about your position with your run
Did she really, though?
Mayor of Dolton. I'm glad that I'm on the same ticket as you to affect change in a positive way for the village. We both live there. We want to leave it better than we found it.
Right.
Want to make sure that we are serving the people and the people are seeing the benefits of a legislative body that's doing the job for the people. So thank you very much for joining me.
All right. So that was Cassie Crash Out and Mr. Dinesh Harrison, their interview from January. I think it was interesting. And I'm finding it interesting because now on this side of the primary election, and knowing that Team House won so demonstratively, a lot of what she says seems to not line up. But even more than that, this was another prime opportunity in a safe environment. They didn't take callers. They weren't reading comments from the interweb. She could have laid out her full plan. And again, she can speak in specific generalities and kind of lay out a plan for day one. She still hasn't told us what she believes about debt. She still hasn't told anybody what she believes about how to pay off Dolton's water bill to Chicago. Or what does she think about taxes and raising taxes or lowering taxes? What is her philosophy on those things? Does she have a philosophy as it relates to vices? smoke shops and liquor stores and S buildings, where the ladies are dancing and stuff like that? Does she have a philosophy about that? Well, what is her ideology about it? We don't know. We know very little. We actually know less now than we did before. Anyway, thank y'all so much for rocking with me. I appreciate you all so very much. Let's get ready to do this again real soon. I'm looking forward to celebrating 50,000 subscribers with you before the end of April. So let's make it happen, y'all. I appreciate you all so very much. Thank you to all the members, all the subscribers. You all are great. Thank you for supporting the channel. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.